So there they go, starting to make their way out onto the track for the X30 Juniors. So here we have, as they make their way up the back straight. So Louis Short in the number 99's on pole position, ahead of Joseph Taylor in second. Third will then be Thomas Fleming and Thomas Le Bon in P4. You can see how close it was between Short and Taylor for who would be starting ahead. Just 1 point in. It's Matthew Herbert P5, P6 James Laby as they come up towards the starting grid. And across the line they go. Everyone gets away smoothly. No contact going into turn 2 and 3, and away out in the lead is the number 23 of Louis, the 99 of Louis Short, leads the way ahead of Joseph Taylor, who's the number 23. Can't quite see who's in third position. Matthew Herbert's down in fifth, I believe. Oh, and that's a big collision. There was a yellow flag. Marshall's running over. I think that we may actually see the red flags. Red flag has come out. That was a big collision with one of the carts going airborne. So the drivers will just line up on the start-finish straight. And it looks as though the ambulance is just going to make its way out onto the track just to check on that driver. It was a very big accident. We could see in the background going through turn 5. But I'm not quite sure who it was involved, and whenever we see accidents like this, we always hope that they're not too serious. But we could be in for a bit of a delay here, because that did look quite painful. Drivers getting out, they know that they're not going to get restarted anytime soon. So here's the replay, and it seemed as though... So there was a bit of contact between two of the drivers. The car involved, which you could see flip, seemed to hit a bump in the ground, and that caused it to go over. The driver came out of it at the moment, so I'm just having a look. He's being seen to by the ambulance and 3 or 4 medics. See there, the driver has got back up in the blue overalls, and she's seems to be walking okay. She's heading towards the medical vehicle, but it was quite a nasty accident, so good to see her walking by herself. But that medical cart, she's just getting in now, which is good news. And then the ambulance will make its way off circuit, and I think this race may get underway. That ambulance just turning round now. So it was for number 42. Is that the 42 or perhaps the 92? So I think it may have been Charlotte Gaskin who was the driver involved in that crash. So they're back going round on a warm-up lap, and they'll go back to the grid. So it was Thomas Fleming, sorry, was the number 73. So let's just take a look at the grid. So it's Louis Short ahead of Joseph Taylor, and I think they have gone back into their starting positions. So Louis Short followed by Joseph Taylor, Thomas Fleming and Thomas Le Bon on row 2. Matthew Herbert and James Laby are row 3. Then P7 behind them is Aston Miller, with Thomas Mills in 8th as they make their way up the back straight. Fairly slowly, making sure they're all in the right positions and close together. 9th is Ben Ward. 10th will be Joshua Torpey. Behind that, 11th will be Leonardo Panayotou. 12th will be Daniel Amazigo as they make their way around the final corner. So the two at the front are Joseph Taylor and Louis Short. Taylor on the right-hand side of your screen. The left-hand side, well, the left-hand side now is Taylor. And Louis Short's taken the lead, and behind him, I think Thomas Fleming's got up into second ahead of Joseph Taylor. Safely through the first couple of corners, they make their way up to turn 3. So it's Louis Short, followed by Thomas Fleming. Joseph Taylor is in third. P4 is for Matthew Herbert, the number 9 cart. And Thomas Levin's fallen into 5th position as they make their way around turn 6 and up towards turn 7, the leading pack. So 49-37, quite close together, are Leonardo Panayotou and Alfie Moore. They were the two drivers very close together. Louis Short just leading And a move there attempted to be made by Joseph Taylor, but Thomas Fleming keeps him in his position. And Matthew Herbert moved up to fourth on that lap as they cross the line for the start of this race, the X30 Juniors. It's Louis Short leading from Thomas Fleming, and then there's a gap between Short and Fleming, and up the inside, Joseph Taylor's having a move, and he's got past Thomas Fleming into second, and I think Matthew Herbert's followed him through as well. So now Joseph Taylor second, ahead of Matthew Herbert third. Fourth is Thomas Fleming as they make their way around turn 6 and up towards turn 7, the leading drivers. Louis Short still out in front. For number 34 there is Thomas Leben, and he's now also got past, I think Thomas Leben's got past Thomas Fleming as well. The number 68 is James Levy, so I think several places have been lost on that lap. We'll just get confirmation as they cross the line. So it's Louis Short ahead of Joseph Taylor. Matthew Herbert is in third. P4 is Thomas Leben, James Levy's P5. Thomas Fleming's gone down to 6th position, but here's the battle for the lead, and second and third is Joseph Taylor ahead of Matthew Herbert. The two who are on your screen right now behind the leader, Louis Short. And we're all going through fairly single file at the moment. No one making any early overtakes in this race right now. But Matthew Herbert's very close up behind Joseph Taylor, so we'll see if there might be a move going into the boots. He thinks about it, but doesn't. And Louis Short's not really managing to pull away, despite the fact that they're fighting a bit behind him. He's not able to build up this gap. If anything, they're closer, indeed they are. So it's Louis Short ahead of Joseph Taylor, and Matthew Herbert just behind. Matthew Herbert's had a good run, and he may think about a move going inside. No, he doesn't, into turn 3. Fourth position behind is Thomas Leben, and then James Levy's P5. But very close are the front 3. And Joseph Taylor looks to make a move up the inside of Louis Short, and he forces him wide, goes up into the lead, and Matthew Herbert takes second place, although he's very close, and Louis Short backs out into third. So 2 places lost on that, in those few corners for the former race leader, Louis Short. Now Joseph Taylor is in front of Matthew Herbert. The P4 is then Thomas Leben, who's the number 34. All running very closely together. And none of them setting personal bests as they were fighting, but they're still running very close together. Joseph Taylor's got into the lead, but hasn't managed to make any ground and build a bit of a gap to Matthew Herbert, who's very, very close behind at the moment. Although Joseph Taylor's been given a contact warning for, I assume, for forcing Louis Short off, heading into turn 6, on the exit of turn 6 rather. That's where Louis Short lost for 2 places to Taylor and Herbert. But just a warning given to him. So in P4 behind Louis Short is Thomas Leben at the moment. And a few of them setting personal bests. That's Short, Leben, Levy and Thomas Fleming. And it is still very close. There isn't much between the top 7 or 8 drivers at the moment, all almost line astern, not able to build that gap to each other. So we could see any number of drivers at the moment win this race. There is still 8.5 minutes to go. Plus a lap, of course. So Joseph Taylor leading the way ahead of Matthew Herbert. And I think that Thomas Leben on that lap's made a move. Oh, Louis Short's got up into second place. And Thomas Leben's having a look, but can't get past Matthew Herbert. So Matthew Herbert loses one to Louis Short, going round the boot and pit bend. So it's now Louis Short in second, and he'll be definitely looking to regain the place that he was forced to lose. Oh, and that's a brave, bold move by the number 73 of Thomas Fleming, who's gone past, I think, 2 drivers there. One, I think he's gone past James Levy and Thomas Leben, which is absolutely fantastic. So great double move to take 2 places going into turn 3, but we're now up towards turn 7. And all running very close together. Thomas Mills is the number 21, who's also joining that bit of a battle. So Louis Short under pressure for second place from Matthew Herbert, the number 9. And Joseph Taylor, fortunately, on that last lap set a personal best, but still very similar, the gaps to the 2 behind him. And there is Thomas Lebon having a look and getting past James Laby into fifth position, I should say. There's a Kart off at the back of the track. I'm not quite sure who we've lost from this race. I think there were due to be 24 starters, but of course we lost Charlotte Gaskin, who was involved in a collision. I think someone else has retired as well. All that may just be Charlotte Gaskin's stricken Kart round the back. So Joseph Taylor still leads the way. But there are battles there. They're starting to spread out, the drivers in the front. Thomas Fleming's just set the fastest lap of the race. The gap's all closing at the front. And here he goes, Louis Short makes that move and gets past Joseph Taylor, much cleaner than the last one. Matthew Herbert again gains a place as those two have a bit of a battle. And Matthew Herbert goes into the lead. He's taken first from Louis Short. Although Louis Short goes up the inside now into turn 7, so Louis Short leads the race ahead of Matthew Herbert. And Joseph Taylor has 2 places taken from him, although much cleaner than the move he made earlier on. He looks up the inside of Matthew Herbert, so back into second now goes Joseph Taylor. Fourth behind this is Thomas Fleming, who's enjoying their battling, because that means he can catch up, and he's very, very close as they come across the line. So Louis Short leads the way ahead of Joseph Taylor. Matthew Herbert's P3 ahead of Thomas Fleming. Will we see any changes going up to turn 3? No one looking at making a move, but they are almost, their fairings almost touching each other. That's how close the 4 of them are running at the front. Behind them a bit of a gap to Thomas Lebon, who's all by himself in P5 at the moment. But Joseph Taylor looking to make a move to see if he can get back up into the lead ahead of Louis Short. He lost that lead a lap or so ago. He also lost second place, but then regained it from Matthew Herbert. The 3 of them are all very, very close together. And there we see Matthew Herbert losing another place to Thomas Fleming, who's now gone up into 3rd. Very opportunistic going into pit bend. And they're very close at the front, and Louis Short is having to really defend, and that means that around the outside goes Thomas Fleming, and I think he's taken second place from Joseph Taylor. Taylor looking up the inside, being blocked off by Louis Short, and then losing the position into turn 3 to Thomas Fleming, who caught him on the outside. So brilliant work, but now having to defend himself as they all go into battle. Matthew Herbert's quite close as well. So will he make up a place? Joseph Taylor was in the lead a few laps ago. He's now down in P5, as Thomas Lebon's also got past as well. Very close battling between the guys out in front. Louis Short isn't even in the lead. I think Thomas Fleming might be leading this race. He is. It's Thomas Fleming leading the way from Thomas Lebon. Louis Short's down into 3rd. Matthew Herbert 4th, and Joseph Taylor in P5. There was so much going on, I struggled to keep up with it, but your new race leaders, Thomas Fleming and Louis Short's making a move to go into second place. Matthew Herbert's lost several as he falls behind, I think, Joseph Taylor. So much is going on. It's really difficult to keep up with every single move because there's so much going on in the X30 Junior series at the moment. But there is a bit of a lead building for Thomas Fleming. He is your race leader. And Joseph Taylor's down in P5 at the moment, just ahead of Matthew Herbert, I think. He is indeed. So they cross the line, and Louis Short did get up into second ahead of Thomas Lebon on that lap. James Laby's P4, Joseph Taylor's P5. One driver losing several was Matthew Herbert. He's dropped down into P10. And Joseph Taylor looking to make a move. He's now gone past James Laby, so he's back up into 4th position. And anything could still happen. We've got 3 minutes and 20 plus a lap, but it's very far from clear who's going to finish where in the higher ends of this race at the moment. The battle for the lead, it's starting to stretch out a little bit. Thomas Fleming ahead of Louis Short, and behind them, I believe, Thomas Lebon. Joseph Taylor's quite far back, almost a second behind in 4th position. Louis Short just sent a personal best though, so he is closing up on Thomas Fleming. There might not be a move to come right now, but I don't expect we'll be too far away from seeing Louis Short trying to dive down the inside somewhere or other as he catches up towards race leader Thomas Fleming. They go up towards turn 6, not quite close enough there. Gap forming between Short and Lebon, who's in 3rd. And there's a gap behind Lebon anyway to James Laby, who's in, to Joseph Taylor and James Laby, who are in P4 and P5. But Louis Short's just checking behind him, no one back close, so he knows he can really focus on taking this race to Thomas Fleming. Takes a different line, looking close, but how close is he as they come across the line? He's just marginally closed the gap on that lap. But I don't think he's going to be close enough to have a go up into turn 3. He's not. So Thomas Fleming still leading the way from Louis Short ahead of Thomas Leben. And Joseph Taylor in fourth with a little bit of a gap. And someone has come off near the dummy grid area, around the pit area. So I didn't quite catch who that was. Kyle Dunford's also out of this race, by the way. He's 7 laps down, so must have gone about 7 laps out. So yellow flags are out at the moment because of the car that's stranded on the straight here. You just see just after the exit for the pit lane, it's for number 16, which is Daniel Fields, out at the moment. So Thomas Fleming leading the way from Louis Short. These drivers down in about P6 and 7 is Thomas Mills. But there's your race leader, 73. 73 is the race leader, and that is Thomas Fleming, and he's very, very close to losing. Well, Louis Short's very close to catching him. Someone just asking on Facebook, there's a white line on the exit of the last corner. Are they enforcing track limits now? Well, as you watch them go round, they are just running over it, so it's not being strictly enforced. All the drivers going outside that line. That was Sean with that question, so it's not being strictly enforced. But here we go, Louis Short on the outside trying to make a move on Thomas Fleming. Fleming stayed inside, defended pretty well, but he's losing time. Louis Short is very close, and having to get up the inside to defend is Thomas Fleming. So he runs wide, he's got the inside line going into the next corner, but he's slightly behind, and there's a little bit of contact, I think. But Thomas Fleming still stays ahead of Louis Short. And that means the guy in third position, who I think is Thomas Leben, is getting very close, as is Joseph Taylor, the former race leader, who's now down in P4. So Louis Short will have to have a look at another move, and he's going up the inside into pit bend, and he goes round the inside. He's just come up ahead, and that means that he's now first. Thomas Leben's also gone into second. Fleming's lost several places, and Joseph Taylor has moved up into third, although it looks like he might be having a go to get second. We're all staying towards the inside into turn 3. Joseph Taylor looks to have just stayed in third place. He was trying to make a move to go into second, but didn't manage it. So Louis Short is the race leader once again, and in second place, well, who will it be when they come across the corner? It looks like Joseph Taylor's now made his way into second, ahead of, very close together. The guy in third is James Laby. He's the guy in third position at the moment, ahead of Thomas Leben. So Fleming and Leben both losing several places as the battle gets much closer, but Louis Short now out ahead of Joseph Taylor as they come across to take the checkered flag, and that's the last lap. That was the win for Louis Short. He wins the race from Joseph Taylor ahead of James Laby. Thomas Fleming ended up in P4 ahead of Thomas Mills. 6th was Aston Miller, 7th Ben Ward, 8th was Thomas Leben, who had been much higher up earlier on, but he fell back on that last lap to finish in 8th. 9th was Matthew Herbert, 10th William Attreed, 11th Archie Garlick, 12th was Daniel Amazigo, Joshua Torpey was 13th, Leonardo Paniuto was 14th, 15th is then Jerome Phillip, 16th is Vishal Patel, 17th was then Alfie Moore, 17th was Alfie Moore, 18th was Nat Thomas, 19th was Charlie Richardson, the novice, the last of the finishers. Thomas Peacher, Daniel Fields and Kyle Dunford all retiring from the race, as well as Charlotte Gaskin, who was involved in a collision on the initial start of the race. They then had to red flag it. She's been taken to the medical centre, although I can see that the ambulance which took her there has now returned. So hopefully there will be some good news there for Charlotte. But what a fantastic race. Well won in the end by Louis Short ahead of Joseph Taylor. They were battling for the lead earlier on. Both fell out of the lead. Thomas Fleming was in front at various points in that race, but in the end, Louis Short takes the race win ahead of Joseph Taylor and James Laby, who was third. So a very dramatic Junior X30 race